Are Drake's streams fake? That is what a new bombshell lawsuit is asserting. Rapper RBX has filed a class action lawsuit against Spotify, specifically naming Drake and breaking down how some of the rapper's billions of streams, that's billions with a B, are actually completely fake and come from overseas bots. If this lawsuit has any legs, it could potentially shake up the entire music business. As a music journalist, I'm going to break down what we know and what this could mean for Spotify and artists in the future. Let's get into it. This is a huge story. So, West Coast rapper RBX, in a class action lawsuit, is alleging that Spotify, many of the streams on the platform, which is the biggest streaming platform in the music business, many of these streams are fake. And even an artist like Drake, someone who's one of the top streamed artists in the world, is benefiting from fake streams that are coming from bots. So, I'm getting this reporting from Pitchfork. The lawsuit alleges that a, quote, non-trivial percentage of Drake's 37 billion streams appear to be the work of a sprawling network of bot accounts. And what is the evidence that they're saying for this? So evidence includes data showing, quote, abnormal VPN usage in short time spans with high streaming volume, such as a period in 2024 when some 250,000 streams of Drake's record, No Face, registered to the United Kingdom, but were actually geo-mapped back to Turkey. So what are they alleging here? Basically, they're saying that streams that look like they were coming from real fans in the UK were actually the work of a bot farm in Turkey. I don't know how many of you are familiar with these bot farms. I think it was Vice did like a really great breakdown. It's pretty gnarly, like these rooms full of just people, clicking buttons, and now with automation, it's probably not even a person. I'm going to try to find that link and put it in the description if you're not familiar. But these are the services that it is believed that artists and labels, or sometimes like third-party intermediaries, they use to basically bump up the records and the streams of certain songs. Now, for those of you who don't know, the way that royalties are paid on Spotify, it's based on a percentage. So the more streams you have, you basically get a bigger piece of the pie. So I think the reason that RBX is specifically pointing out Drake, and I want to be very clear, Drake isn't the target of this lawsuit. He's actually just being used as an example for now. But if it is true that somebody like a Drake and these other superstar artists are leveraging these bots, that's why they're getting paid hundreds of thousands all the way to millions of dollars in royalties, whereas like a smaller artist, an indie artist, such as an RBX, they're going to get a smaller piece of the pie. This is what the lawsuit said. The cost of, quote, the fraudulent boosting of Drake's music is estimated to be in the hundreds of millions of dollars. That's a lot of money, and if any of this is true, that means that some of those royalties should have been paid to other artists who had actual people listening to their record, not these artificial bots coming from God only knows who where. So although Spotify didn't comment directly, they did say, quote, we heavily invest in always improving best-in-class systems to combat artificial streaming and safeguard artist payouts with strong protections like removing fake streams, withholding royalties, and charging penalties. So that's their official stance. So these are very serious allegations. As you know, Drake is probably the most streamed hip-hop artist on Spotify. He's consistently in the top 20 just globally of streaming artists. And he is somebody who really is kind of this poster child for someone who's a streaming success story. And if we're to believe that a significant number of his streams are coming from bot farms, they're coming from things that are fraudulent, artificial. I think one of the assertions that the lawsuit made was some of the accounts were listening to his music for like 23 hours a day. How would that even be possible? Unless somebody just had Drake on repeat their entire day while they're living and working and sleeping. It just feels like a lot. And those are the things that really make people wonder, are these real fans? I mean, these would be like the biggest OVO fans in the world, or is there something more nefarious going on behind the scenes? And I think it was very intentional for RBX to point Drake out for a couple of reasons. So, as I mentioned, he is the hip hop leader when it comes to streaming. He is like the poster child of Spotify. I'm sure you remember that album Takeover, where he literally took over every playlist. He was on pop and hip hop and gospel and country. Like they gave him the cover of every playlist as a marketing opportunity for him to hit milestones when it came to streaming. And it's this idea that the rot kind of goes like all the way to the top. So if the biggest artist is delving in this type of behavior, of course everyone else is as well. And for a company like a Spotify, if your golden child is the one doing this, you are going to be incentivized to hide it, to conceal it, to make excuses for it, because you very much want these big artists to be on your platform. So I understand why Drake was mentioned. And as you know, the recent UMG defamation lawsuit that Drake went against Universal Music Group for Not Like Us, it was recently dismissed. And I did a whole video breaking that down. But if you remember, prior to that, Drake had mentioned Spotify and iHeartRadio as possible co-conspirators in this big sort of conspiracy that Not Like Us was artificially being promoted and propped. And if you remember that video that I did previously about Drake going after all these companies, what did I say? I said, if you want to sort of lift under the hood, see how the sausage is made, go behind the scenes, that's cool. But a lot of the things that Drake was alleging that Kendrick was taking advantage of, fake streams and bots and paid influencers, he would probably then be taking advantage of those as well. And that's not to say that he, out of his own money, was like paying people to do this, but there's many methods that you can get to the same end result. And I think that's the thing. If Drake is to say that Kendrick and Universal Music Group, they're doing all of these things that are unethical and perhaps even illegal, why wouldn't Universal do that to promote him when he is a bigger artist on the streaming platform? And that's something that I think now Drake is going to have to face the music, no pun intended, because if you're going to point the finger at Kendrick and Universal and Spotify and iHeart, even though those things didn't move forward legally, now people are going to start questioning you. And it can't be that your wins and your victories are untainted. That's not how it's going to be seen. Now, this is just me editorializing as a journalist. I also think it was very savvy for RBX to go after Spotify and mentioning Drake, because let's be honest, does Spotify really have any reason to defend Drake? I mean, he was like this close to suing them as well and throwing them into a lawsuit. So right now he's in a very precarious position with the streamer, with his label. So I just wonder, how are they going to come together and sort of showcase a united front? Or is it going to be, every man for themselves? So I think the timing is very, very interesting. And we're going to have to watch how this all plays out. But I think regardless of what happens with this lawsuit, we really just have to come to terms with the fact that men lie, women lie, and you know what? Numbers sometimes lie too. And I'd done a whole piece for Double XL a while ago about hip hop's obsession with numbers and getting to the top of the charts and all the things people were willing to do to get there. I'm going to link it in the description. I think it's worth a read. But, I said at that point, if there is a system to be gamed, people will figure out how to rig it. Like, that is the music business. And anytime there's a number or a system that can be manipulated, people are going to do it. They've been doing it since the dawn of time, like from physical music to ringtones to now to streaming. There's always a way to game the system. And I might do a whole video of some of the ways people are gaming streaming. If you want that video, let me know in the comments, because I think there's a lot of both very obvious ways and kind of more innocent ways, all the way to just flat out paying bot farms to artificially inflate your numbers. And there's a lot of gray area in between. So if you want that video, a deeper dive in how people are gaming the streaming system, allegedly, but also we know it's happening, let me know, because I can break that down between editorial playlisting versus algorithmic playlisting and different things that people are doing that we know about in the headlines, and then some behind the scenes that I can give you as well, being a music journalist. But overall, I think it's going to be very interesting what happens with this class action lawsuit. And will this also inspire other artists? If someone could go up against Spotify and name Drake, this could be the era of lawsuits and everything can be questioned from YouTube numbers, social media followers, like all of this stuff can and will be questioned. And as fans, I always underscore this: numbers shouldn't matter to you. If you love your favorite artist, it should be because you love your favorite artist, because they're talented, the music is good, it resonates with you. All of this number talk, I truly believe, has infected hip hop and other facets of entertainment as well. The movie industry, even like sports, like you hear the way fans talk now, and you would think everyone is like Lucian Grange, Jeannie Buss, or like David Zaslow, like, the heads of these various industries. And to me, the whole point about being a fan is be a fan. Just enjoy what you enjoy. This constant conversation about first week numbers and streams and monthly uniques, as long as the fans love that and they keep propping it up, artists are going to go to further and further lengths to get to those numbers. I mean, you saw the recent Taylor Swift album where she did like 38 variants just to ensure she had a solid number one, which she was going to have, but also to make sure that she beat Adele's record. And now the bar gets pushed up even more. So the next artist is going to do something, even more sort of extravagant and outrageous. Like it's all just kind of competing to hit some number, but who's talking about the music? Who's talking about the artistic contribution? That gets lost when the fans especially are obsessed with numbers. For people in the music industry, journalists, executives, people like that, we do use numbers to contextualize things. But if that is the only metric you're using, you're really only basically like chasing the 1% of the artists, people who don't really need additional help. And if this lawsuit has any merit to it, even those numbers are now in question. When I get press releases so many times, like the top, headline or bullet points is always about an artist's numeric success. And now I might have to question everything. What do these numbers mean? Are they real? Can I get, a receipt that this really happened? Or was this like a bot farm in Turkey? So already the system, you have no faith in it anymore. So I think no matter what, this lawsuit is going to have a lot of repercussions for Spotify, for Drake, and for the music business as a whole. So what are your thoughts about this lawsuit? Do you think that Spotify is guilty of fraud? Do you feel like there's some fraudulent bots or the accounts that aren't really, the math isn't mathing? And how do you think this affects Drake, someone who's so much of his career and his success, and now more than ever, his brand really relies on being a top streamer? So if that gets taken away from him, or at the very least is questioned, what does that mean for Drake and his legacy? I'd love to know your thoughts. Let me know in the comments.